I was the beginning of quite an abusive marriage. I tried my best in every possible way I could to save that marriage, first of all. And career and ambition, oh, that was not even in my mind at that point. And everything, every time something fell apart, I always used to lay the blame on myself, that I need to fix this. It's my responsibility. I need to put this together. Yet it was something that wasn't just my own or something that I had to fix. But that's how I was. And I believe it was in 2008 when fear and I came face to face after quite some time. And it was with the news that my best friend, my grandmother, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I still remember that moment, that it was hard to accept. It was hard to understand when you have so much of the losses going on, especially that time my marriage. So to accept that somebody who you love so much is going through this. But you know how we, just like everybody who's desperate to find cure for cancer for their loved ones, we were desperate. We tried to get her right treatments. We tried everything, and we defeated cancer. Just like I had read in books, I was the warrior that she always imagined me to be, and we defeated cancer. And that was for a very limited time. For it was in 2009 when I was sitting by myself in my home after I had faced not such a good scenario with my husband, with an ice pack to my face. And I remember my aunt called me in the late hour. It was, I think, around 1 a.m. in the morning. And all I heard the words, it's back, it's back. The cancer was back. 6 months after she got her first, after the first time we actually defeated it. And I just couldn't comprehend what was going on. I just kept repeating these words to myself over and over again, that why her? She promised she'll be with me. Why is this happening to her? Why is this happening to me? Haven't I faced enough? And I still remember the last time when I spoke to her, she said something to me quite profounding, which I still look back and go like, I don't know how or where she knew that from. She said that if God took something from you that you never imagined losing, it's because something so much better for you that you never imagined happening. It was the very next day at 5:11 a.m., the cancer won and took my best friend away from me, the great Surya Yunus. We talk about mental health. We talk about suicidal thoughts, depression, clinical depression. This woman right here faced through all of that, including suicide thoughts. And I'm not ashamed to say it out loud. But I had choices. Either I could let that darkness consume me completely, or I would do something about it. And I'm so glad I chose the latter. So in order to do something about it, and in order to save my marriage that was completely falling apart, in 2010, my husband and I, we at that time were called to this fascinating country, a country that was foreign to us at this language, and that's the United States. And when we got here, this woman right here never held a job in her life, because I got married in my final year of graduation, never ever had a job in her life, never held a job in her life. So for her to even face a world that's called corporate world, no way. There's no way I can even do that. So imagine how much fear and I were like this at that time. But I had to, because we were living in the Bay Area. It's not easy. It's expensive here. So I knew I had to get out there and get the right job. And it was the summer of 2010 when I got a call from this quite a fascinating company called Genentech. I was beyond surprised. You're inviting somebody who has no experience, nothing whatsoever, but you want me to come for an interview. Okay. And at that time, I think they had a campus building in Redwood City. It's no longer there now anymore, unfortunately. But I remember I was standing outside the building, constantly fixing my scarf, brushing my pants, and just making sure that I look okay. And I remember I took a couple of deep breaths, opened the door, and went inside the building. And I was greeted by this remarkable human being by the name Bob Albert, who I did know at that time was going to be my manager. And he welcomed me with a big smile and warmth and said, welcome to Genentech. And I didn't realize that was the beginning of a whole new journey. Because after that, honestly speaking, the way I grew and evolved and was surrounded by people who uplifted me up, boldened me enough, empowered me enough to walk away from marriage that was never meant to be saved. After that, I swear I thought this was it. I've conquered all my fears. I have empowered myself. Yay, this is it. But little did I know that life had other plans for me. Life always is mystery, right? And it has always other plans for you. And this time, you all might remember this time as well. Remember 2016, when this entire country was shaken by a growing hostile political movement and rise of anti-migration. And this time, my safety and my family's safety, people like me and their safety, was getting questioned. My identity, how I appeared, was turning into shame. I was ashamed of being seen as a Muslim. I was ashamed of showing up and at work and being seen as a Muslim, even though that environment there was far from what I had imagined. The openness, the warmth, the welcome, the acceptance I always felt there. But you know, there's a psychological thing in your mind, right? You start questioning yourself, your being, my identity, my customs. Everything was just turning into shame. I started standing behind folks at the train station because I was just so afraid some psychotic person or lunatic would just push me in front of it. And that's because those were the scenarios I was getting to hear across the globe. And I remember it was such a heartbreaking conversation with my mother, who wanted nothing more than the well-being of her daughters and the safety of their daughters, when she was honestly being very open that we do not wear what we call this, it's our headscarf, just for that we can be safe and we won't be seen as Muslims. And that was the first time that I really just paused and questioned myself, why am I ashamed of who I am? And that was the start of a whole other journey that I embarked on, becoming a clinical psychologist, because I wanted to work with men, women, teenagers, children, whether it's from our background or from our community or outside of our community, just to help them accept their fear and face that fear, not be ashamed of who they are, and challenge the surrounding, the thinking of the people around them. And it's amazing, right? When you help someone in that capacity, you also find questions, the answers to the questions that you're seeking, just like I was, around shame and fear. You know, being able to reimagine yourself beyond what other people see, it's the most difficult task of all, yet the most rewarding thing if you can.